Late-night drives have a certain vibe, right? Right? The empty roads, the city lights fading in the rearview mirror. Just you and your thoughts. But sometimes that peaceful solitude can turn into a nightmare, especially when you have to make a stop. Gas stations, those brightly lit beacons in the dark, can sometimes be the setting for stories that are far from ordinary. Today, we're diving into 3 real-life gas station encounters that are genuinely terrifying. These aren't just urban legends. They're true stories that will make you think twice before you pull over for gas after midnight. So, buckle up, lock your doors, and let's get into it. Our first story comes from a Reddit user who was a young woman traveling solo across the country. Let's call her Sarah. She was driving through a desolate stretch of highway in the Midwest, somewhere deep in rural America. Her gas light had been on for what felt like an eternity, and her anxiety was climbing with every mile. Finally, she spotted a single flickering sign for a 24-hour gas station. It looked old and rundown, the kind of place you only stop at when you have absolutely no other choice. But with her tank on empty, she didn't have a choice. She pulled in. The station was eerily quiet. There were no other cars, just a single pickup truck parked near the convenience store, its engine humming. Sarah got out of her car, the cold night air hitting her immediately. The pumps were old-fashioned, the kind you have to prepay for inside. As she walked toward the store, a man emerged from the driver's side of the pickup truck. He was tall, gaunt, and had a strange, intense look in his eyes. He didn't say anything, just watched her walk past. A chill went down her spine, but she tried to brush it off. She was just being paranoid, right? Inside the store, the air was stale. An elderly man sat behind the counter, barely looking up from a small television. 20 on pump 3, she said, her voice sounding louder than she intended in the silent store. He nodded, took her cash, and went back to his show. Feeling a bit more at ease inside the lit store, Sarah grabbed a soda and a bag of chips. As she walked back to the counter to pay, the man from the pickup truck entered the store. He moved slowly, deliberately, his eyes fixed on her. He walked up to the counter and stood right behind her, uncomfortably close. She could feel his breath on her neck. Her heart started pounding. She quickly paid for her snacks and turned to leave, trying to avoid eye contact. "Nice night for a drive," he said, his voice a low, gravelly whisper that didn't match the friendly words. "Yeah, just passing through," she replied, hurrying toward the door. She got back to her car, her hands shaking as she tried to put the gas nozzle into the tank. She could feel him watching her from the doorway of the store. The pump was agonizingly slow. Every click of the numbers felt like an hour. She kept glancing back at the store, and he was still there, a dark silhouette against the bright lights. Finally, the pump clicked off. She quickly screwed the gas cap back on and jumped into her car, fumbling with the keys. She locked the doors, started the engine, and peeled out of that gas station as fast as she could. In her rearview mirror, she saw the man step out of the doorway and watch her car disappear into the night. She never looked back. She drove for another 100 miles before she felt safe enough to even consider stopping again. It wasn't what he did, but the feeling he gave her, the predatory way he watched her, that made it a truly horrifying experience. Our second story is even more unsettling. This one was shared by a long-haul truck driver named Mark. Mark had been on the road for over 20 years and had seen his fair share of strange things. But one night in rural Texas topped them all. He pulled into a large, well-lit truck stop to refuel and grab a bite to eat. It was around 2 a.m. As he was filling up his massive tank, he noticed a woman standing near the entrance of the convenience store. She was wearing a thin, tattered dress, which was odd for the chilly night. She looked distressed, her eyes wide with fear. Mark finished fueling up and went inside to pay. The woman was still there, pacing back and forth. As he passed her, she suddenly grabbed his arm. "Please, you have to help me," she whispered frantically. "He's gonna find me. You have to hide me." Mark was taken aback. He looked around and saw a burly man in a trucker hat glaring at them from across the parking lot, standing next to a beat-up sedan. The woman followed his gaze and shrank back. "That's him," she whimpered. "Please, let me hide in your truck." "Just until he leaves." Mark was a kind-hearted guy, and the woman seemed genuinely terrified. He felt he had to do something. "All right," he said. "Go get in my cab, passenger side. Lock the door and stay down. Don't make a sound." She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and ran to his truck. Mark went inside, paid for his fuel, and bought a coffee to buy some time. He watched the man from the parking lot. The man started walking towards the store. Mark's heart was in his throat. The man came inside, looked around, and then walked right up to Mark. "You see a woman out here?" he asked, his voice calm but menacing. "About my height, brown hair, wearing a white dress." Mark tried to act casual. "Nope, haven't seen anyone like that, buddy. Just trying to get my coffee and get back on the road." The man stared at him for a long, uncomfortable moment, his eyes seeming to look right through him. Then he grunted and walked out. Mark watched as the man got back into his sedan and after a few minutes drove away. Mark let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He waited another 10 minutes just to be sure, then went back to his truck. He opened the passenger door. "He's gone," he said. "You're safe." The woman was huddled on the floor, shaking. She looked up at him with immense relief. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you so much." He offered to give her a ride to the next town, where she said she had family. During the drive, she told him she'd been held captive by that man for weeks, and had finally managed to escape when he stopped for gas. Mark dropped her off at a police station in the next town, where she could finally get the help she needed. He never knew what happened to her after that, but he'll never forget the sheer terror in her eyes, or the chilling realization of what could have happened if he hadn't helped. Our third and final story is a short but deeply creepy one that reminds us that sometimes the danger isn't from a person, but from the place itself. A college student named Alex was driving home for the holidays, taking a back road to avoid traffic. It was late, and snow was starting to fall. He saw a gas station up ahead, a single lonely building with one pump under a rusted awning. The sign was unlit and the place looked abandoned, but the light inside the small store was on. Desperate for gas, he pulled in. The moment he stepped out of his car, a strange feeling washed over him. The air was heavy and silent, not even the sound of the wind. He walked into the store. There was no one behind the counter. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. The store was fully stocked. A coffee pot was on and steaming. A radio was playing softly behind the counter. It was like the clerk had just vanished into thin air. A weird, prickling sensation ran up his arms. He called out again, louder this time. "Hello? Is anyone here?" Silent. Something felt profoundly wrong. He backed out of the store, his instincts screaming at him to leave. As he got back in his car, he glanced at the gas pump. Taped to it was a small, handwritten note. He couldn't read it from his car, and his curiosity got the better of his fear. He got out and walked over to the pump. The note was written in shaky handwriting. It said, "Don't stay. It hears you." Alex's blood ran cold. He didn't know what it was, and he didn't want to find out. He sprinted back to his car, locked the doors, and sped away from that gas station without looking back. He managed to coast to the next town on fumes. To this day, he has no explanation for what he experienced. Was it a prank? Or was there something truly sinister about that abandoned gas station on a lonely back road? The ambiguity is what makes it so terrifying. The thought of an unseen, unheard presence that you can only be warned about by a cryptic note is the stuff of nightmares. So there you have it. 3 stories that turn a mundane errand into a fight for survival. It just goes to show you never really know what's waiting for you out there in the dark. The world is full of strange and unsettling encounters, and sometimes they happen in the most ordinary of places. Next time you're on a late-night drive and see that glowing sign, just remember these stories. Stay aware, trust your gut, and always lock your doors. Thanks for watching, and if you have your own creepy gas station story, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true, scary stories. Stay safe out there.